B'Shem Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We are back here doing our, continuing our series, our Tuesday night series, regarding the IGGERET, the letter that the Gaon of Vilna wrote to us that we've been learning for the last year, B'ezrat Hashem, together. Tonight's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Tzara Bat Anat, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris Bat Joram, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba for Marsha Bat Julie, Ayla Bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Louis ben Marsha, and all of Am Yisrael, all of the righteous Noahides that continue to do everything possible to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu as much as possible. So for those of you that are used to watching the live lectures on Facebook, as you've noticed for the last two lectures, including tonight, we have not been able to have a Facebook Live. Not really sure what the technical difficulties are. We're simply doing the same thing we've done many times, and it's just not working. And it's already delaying the lecture 20 minutes. So now is not the time to fix it. We're simply just going to do it, which Baruch Hashem was kind on us as usual and already gave us the cure before the ailment, where we have already some amazing people on the team that developed the live technology already on our app, as well as on our website. For those of you that want to watch the lectures live, we typically have lectures on Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Typically it's around 9 o'clock. You could go to bh.live, and watch the lectures live, or you could simply go to the app and there's a little button on top that says live, and you'll watch the lectures live. It's much better than Facebook or any other terminal out there, and Baruch Hashem, much more reliable. Many people have told me it's also better sound, but either way, it's whatever works. As far as the updates, we're going to go very brief in regards to the updates because we're already late. I know that some of you have asked me in regard to different campaigns, different things that we're working on. As I've told you, the organization is constantly working on projects, and day and night are already mixed into the two. It seems like it's all the same. It's all blending. There's really no time. I know that some of you are asking me to call you, and you're not getting any calls because I simply just can't make the time, and even the messages are becoming more and more difficult to answer. This is why I ask you guys, when you're sending me messages, please make them short and sweet, and don't send me the Megillat Esther messages that are 2-3 paragraphs. I know that everything that you're saying is very important. It's just that it lowers the chances of me getting to that message. It's not that I don't want to answer it. It's just that when I see that there is 300, 400, 500 messages that need to be answered, and then there's messages that are one little sentence or 30-second recording, versus somebody that sent me 2 pages worth of text, it's more likely that I'm going to go to the shorter message, just because they also need help just like you do. So again, it's just a trick of the trade. It's not something that we want to do. We want to help everybody, but we have to help as many people as possible. So as far as the messages, we're trying to do our best. We haven't answered the questions on the app in some time because the questions on the WhatsApp and other places are already above and beyond our capabilities. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll find a way to do the app messages also. In regards to the phone calls, please don't ask me to call you. I simply can't. If there's something that's truly urgent, I could try to sometimes get somebody from our team to call, but getting a call from me is becoming less and less likely. Just again, because the time is very limited. We still only have 24 hours in a day. And the amount of people that are in need of help and the amount of projects that are there are simply above and beyond any human capabilities. Secondly, in regards to the community, I know that some of you have asked in regards to what's going to happen with the community. What about starting something? The truth be told is that we found some places out there, some buildings out there that seem to be fit, but we don't have the money. You're talking about coming up with millions of dollars, which we don't have. We have some money, but we don't have millions of dollars. Even the commitment of $500,000 that somebody made is becoming more and more iffy, just because we haven't raised the rest of the money. We need a lot of money to start something as significant as needed. But the money that we're getting in every month, Baruch Hashem, we're growing each year. We're finalizing the numbers for last year, which Baruch Hashem is another growth of over 50% from the year before. But it's simply just to maintain what we have, which is a growing staff, growing need of the videos, the events, the books, and helping the poor people. There's simply a lot of things that we're doing each and every month. So to get something new as far as getting a building and so on, that has to be a lot of money that we don't have. And anyone that has the ability to raise money from their friends and family, or to write a check themselves, or whatever they could do, by all means, please do what you can to help us. But for all of you that are giving as much as you can, we appreciate everything that you're doing, and B'ezrat Hashem will continue to do everything that we can. So that's the update as far as the community. It's just not plausible right now to buy a building with the money that we have. We need a lot more, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get it when the time comes. As far as the events tomorrow there's not going to be a Stump the Rabbi lecture, but I am having a private gathering at my house for Lag BaOmer, and B'ezrat Hashem, at some point we'll be doing a shiur, and it's probably going to be somewhere around 9 o'clock, around the same time that we do the Stump the Rabbi. So if Hashem wills it, we will have that put on live on the app, and if Facebook works, also on Facebook. So you'll be able to watch a shiur. It'll be a very different shiur than typical. Some stuff that I don't talk about during the rest of the year. So for those of you that will be watching, you'll definitely get some new things from there, B'ezrat Hashem. As far as the event next week, live event with people, we're having it next week, Wednesday night. It's going to be a little earlier than we typically do it. I believe the doors open around 6:30. So we'll start the lecture earlier. We're probably going to start the lecture around 6:30, latest 7. And because the place closes earlier, it's at the Hilton. Those of you that are able to travel, whether it's traveling by car or plane or train or whatever you need to do to get there, it'll definitely be worth your time to come. There's going to be a lot of new insights, a lot of interesting things, some stuff that's from the other side, some stuff from, as far as the supernatural, some things that are Mussar, day-to-day stuff. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of Torah out there, and we're looking forward to sharing it with you, especially with the live crowd. That's next Wednesday. So I know that some of you from Colorado and Texas, New York, and other places have come for the last several events, which is very, very appreciative. And I highly recommend that the rest of you that haven't come to the event should definitely join us, simply because it's a very different lecture. When you watch lectures online versus watching a live lecture, you'll understand that it's a world of difference. Even if it's the same content, it's a world of difference being part of an event, part of a lecture, than simply being somebody that's watching it. And of course, if you can't, you can't. You can't come, you can't come. But some people that are very busy schedules with work and family and so on, what they typically do is they come for the night. They come during the day or whatever, and then they stay for the lecture. And usually right after the lecture, they just go to the airport to rest a little bit, and then just catch the red-eye flight back to home, and they end up not even missing any work. So for those of you that are able to do that, it's definitely worth it. B'ezrat Hashem, we're doing all of these events for you guys. It's a much easier to do the event at my house and not have to go anywhere, but we're doing it for you guys because it makes sense to see everybody at least once a month until we actually have that location. But it costs an arm and a leg. It's each place costs thousands of dollars. The giveaways are thousands of dollars. Everything costs a lot of money. Anyone that wants to sponsor the events, whether you want to be a partial sponsor or a full sponsor, please join us. We're at bhchizuk.org. bhchizuk.org. You could sponsor over there. Last but not least, the Kollel and the Girls Seminary are at full force, Baruch Hashem. We're starting a new season with the Girls Seminary. They just spoke to Rabbi Alimi, that's heading it, him and the Rabbanit, his wife, and a crew of 20 volunteers that are helping. We have hundreds of girls that are desperately in need of a program on a regular basis. We're having it several times a week. We also had a girls' seminary that started and already have, I think close to 100 girls that have signed up. And Baruch Hashem, we're working with the government and some politicians to see if they could fund this big project. But the one that's started it all is the seminary that's only a few times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. We have events, and then we have a couple of trips for the year, and then we have a planned Shabbaton. So anybody that wants to take a piece of that or all of it, it's not really much money. You for $5,000, $10,000 a month, you can do a lot. You can do a lot in Eretz Yisrael, and that's really pretty much what we need, between $5,000 and $10,000 a month to continue doing that program. So anyone that wants to sign up for that is by all means welcome. The kollels are Baruch Hashem growing. We have a Rabbi Sharvit Shichyeh that just officially became a Dayan. The other Chachamim that we have at the Kollel are also getting closer and closer to Dayanut. We're also considering hiring a few more Avrechim, having some more Avrechim join us. But again, with each Avrech, it's a commitment. It's a commitment to pay them a salary every month. It's a commitment to make sure that everybody has everything that they need without having to worry about it. And we pay a lot more to the Avrechim than other kollels. Probably a factor of, I would say close to double what other kollels pay, which is the reason why we don't just hire at will, and we don't just hire anybody. It has to be specific type of Avrechim. So Baruch Hashem, that kollel, any of you that have already sponsored it, I've heard many of you have told me that as soon as you sponsored a Avrech for a week, for a month, for several times, many people have gotten a lot of bracha when it comes to parnasah. So when it comes to parnasah, this sponsoring Torah is one of the greatest things a person can do. And the only reason I say one of the greatest things to do is because it's tied or slightly behind helping people do tshuva, doing kiruv. So anyone out there that wants to help us continue doing what we're doing, the lectures, the CDs, the USBs, the books, the packages, all of that stuff, could donate on the websites, on different avenues. We have on the app. We just started a GoFundMe page. We have on Facebook. You could donate in a million different ways. You could send a check. Either way, there's a lot of ways to contribute. And the reason why I mention all of this stuff is simply because people ask me, where could I donate many times? And, there are plenty of places you could donate on our website. There's multiple websites. You can go to bhtorah.org. You can go to bezrathashem.org. You can go to one of our campaigns. There's a lot of places that a person can donate if they really want it. And it's important for a person to really want it, because when it comes to donations, you have to understand that it's not just the desire to or the ability to donate is not enough sometimes. I had a lecture several years ago that was as difficult to teach as it was to learn it in regards to doing kiruv. And if you're not doing kiruv, you should be worried. And there it's some of the teachings from the sages. Parts of it comes from the Zohar. Also, different chachamim that have discussed zikui rabim and the whole issue of kiruv. And chachamim time and time again teach how a person has to have merits already, pre-existing merits, a lot of good deeds, and not just money and not just a desire to do good, but they actually have to have merits in order for Hashem to decide that their money will go to a good place. because we already have seen from the prophets, Jeremiah, for example, is one of them. Shlomo HaMelech talked about it also, where there's in essence a punishment, a heavenly punishment, and a curse that Jeremiah said to Hashem on certain wicked people, where he said that even when they do give charity, let that charity go to the wrong places, because they don't deserve the good that you will bestow upon them for the charity they give, because they don't mean well. They mean bad things. From there, many Chachamim learn that you'll see many times that there are organizations that literally can raise $1 million, $2 million, $5 million in a matter of days. But other than hearing about the campaign and how they raised a whole boatload of money in a short period of time, you never hear about this organization. As one of our dear volunteers told me today, he's like, listen, I see a bunch of these organizations, they raise a lot of money in short periods of time, but after that you never hear about them. You never hear what they do, you never hear anything. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing bad, it's just that their impact is in essence typically limited to a specific place, and it's in essence, while the public may be contributing, the private few are the ones that are benefiting. Whereas Baruch Hashem, as we've heard many times from huge Chachamim, regular people, Jews, non-Jews, people from all over the world that have said this time and time again, and that really just repeating their statement, not even tooting our own horn, where they say, listen, we don't understand how you're producing so much information, so much content, so many books, so many videos, so much helping, so many people being helped as far as the poor. One organization asked me, how do you feed so many people with such little money? I mean, we fed 25,000 people last year. This year we've already on pace to surpass that again. And we're not talking about millions and millions of dollars. Sure, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not millions. Whereas typically you see, some people that have advertised certain campaigns. Oh, we need, a $2 million or $1.5 million to get 300 kids to go to yeshiva. Or we need, $5 million to feed a couple thousand families. With all due respect, with either amounts that I just stated, you should be able to do a lot more. $1.5 million, $2 million should not be just for 300 kids to join yeshiva. That's enough to open the yeshiva, or at least put a down payment to pretty much run the yeshiva at the very least for a very big part of the year. It's a lot more than just 300 kids. $5 million to feed a couple thousand families, maybe feeding a couple thousand families, and some of those families may be the people that are getting the money, and they're feeding their families houses and cars and a bunch of other things. The point being is that either people have no idea how to use money, or they're just simply cutting and skimming off the top a little bit too much, so a lot of the money that people donate don't end up yielding them as much fruit as they would think. They donate $100, $1,000, $10,000, but net, as far as what comes out of it, as far as actual mitzvah money, is very, very little at best. And this is just a reality. One person that has been, breaking my head and nonstop bothering me about this whole Chabad situation of how we discussed how there is a systemic problem within Chabad, for a while already, since the Rebbe, Alav Shalom, left this world. There's been a growing systemic problem within Chabad. And one of the things that you keep hearing over and over again from every Chabadnik is that they have 5,000 shlichim, and they're in every single place, just like a Starbucks or a McDonald's. You could find a Chabad everywhere, and that's all good, and we're not negating that. We're not speaking against the fact that Chabad has a huge reach, but we are speaking against the fact that Chabad has a lot of heretics. Chabad has an ideology that is questionable in many cases, especially now that this whole God needs me nonsense, that's heretical, that's against the Torah, it's against all opinions. It's against all opinions that even the Christians and the Muslims don't say. This whole mentality, this type of heretical teachings is growing, unfortunately. It's not just Manis Friedman anymore. It's also Y.Y. Jacobson. It's also some other few people that are still unknown are teaching this nonsense. And Chabad not only stays quiet about it, they're actually encouraging other peoples to do, because apparently it's working when it comes to the bottom line as far as money is concerned. Baalei Teshuva, nothing. No Baalei Teshuva. Now, of course, when I tell this to some of these people that bother me, and they call my father, or they call different people that I know, just because they want to cause problems in our lives, because they don't like that we speak and actually show evidence for everything that we say, their main argument is, look, but they reach a lot of places. They're in Singapore, they're in Afghanistan, I don't know, they're in every hole out there, and that's fantastic. The problem is not the reach. The problem is, what are you doing now that you have the stage? And that's one of the things that, I told one of them that told me they have a very big reach, and they have over $1 billion of money coming in to Chabad on an annual basis at this stage. I know that years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, when there was a research published by some news network that worked together with Chabad, they published that at that time they had about a $550 million annual budget, or annually donations coming in. So apparently it's doubled over the last decade, which is mabruk, chazak baruch, great. It's great that you have all that money. The question is, what are you doing with it? How many people are actually doing tshuva? How many people are paying for food, for you to have a third meal on Shabbat, while some people don't even have food to eat at all? And how many people are actually doing tshuva and changing their lives? And when you see the results versus the investment, again, it's simply not what people expect. It's not what people expect. And surely they know this just as we do, and everybody knows that everybody could do better. We ourselves are always trying to do much better. So the point being is that when people ask me, where should we donate? Should I donate to this campaign? Should I donate to that organization? I already told you guys, I think about a year ago, 2 years ago, I no longer recommend any other organization other than our own, simply because I know what we do. I know what results we get. I know a lot of different problems that we solve for people. I don't know what other people do. All I know is that when you see the amount of content and information and things that are helping people to come out of our organization, and you compare that pound for pound versus others, Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the ability and the merit to be involved in a lot of things. Hence the reason why I remind you for a whole 10-15 minutes already that it's time to get a little more generous, because it's for your benefit. It's for your benefit more than anything else. And that's one of the things that we also learn from this week's parasha, and that's one of the things that we'll learn from the Gaon of Vilna. The Gaon of Vilna, Baruch Hashem, has taught us time and time again about how we have to learn Mussar, we have to learn Halacha, we have to make sure that our children are getting the right education, we have to make sure that we're honest at work, we're honest in business, we have to make sure that we do a lot of these different things in order to perfect ourselves. And he's not just talking to the people that are new into the religion. He's not just talking to the people that are males or females. He's talking to everybody, including the people that consider themselves, and even according to all standards, are righteous. He's talking even to his own mother, his own wife, that are tzadikot kedoshot, that there was no doubt that they are destined to go to heaven. Still, he's talking to them, because you could be destined to go to heaven, but still end up in Gehenom if you don't keep yourself on that right path. And that's why the Mishnah in Avot says that a person should never trust themselves until the day they die. Why? Because we even have someone that was a Kohen Gadol for decades, and unfortunately, this Kohen Gadol ended up going off the derech, becoming a complete Manis Friedman Apikoros heretic, and he ended up losing everything for it. Literally losing everything. And this is when he was already old. This is not when he was like 20 years old that he was able to do a lot of things that a 90 or 100-year-old man can't do. So a person, from there, what the Chachamim learn, a person should never trust themselves until the day that they die. Meaning that every day we have to constantly make sure that we're looking forward at the path that we're on and backwards at the path that we came from. Are we still on that right path? How do we know if it's the right path or it's simply a path that we think it's right? Simple. Compare it to what the Torah says. What does the Torah say? Are you constantly developing your character traits? Are you constantly doing more mitzvot? Are you growing spiritually? Are you doing things to serve Hashem, or are you doing things to serve yourself? And one of the things that a lot of people like to talk about is how they believe, and some of them even speak from a place of knowledge, they know that they are a good person. Now, question is, what is your definition of good? And one of the things that is common is like, oh, I'm a very good person, I'm a good friend, let's just start with that. Before we talk about all the other things, what is a good friend? Because it's important to be a good friend if a person actually understands what it means to be a good friend. So the Gaon of Vilna, he told his mother that, and the rest of his family in this letter, that I also come to ask my wife to honor my mother, as the Torah dictates, especially as she is a widow, to whom it is a grave sin to cause pain, even with the slightest gesture. So that was the teachings of last week, where the Gaon of Vilna emphasized that not only do you have to have respect for each other because you're both Jews, but it's even more so because she's your mother-in-law. You have to respect her. There's chachamim, there's poskim that discuss the obligation to have honor for the in-laws. Surely, any time that we are obligated to do a certain mitzvah, such as to honor your parents, to honor your older brother, to not say lashon hara, to love your fellow Jew. This is talking about people that are Torah observant. Now, this is not to say that if someone is not Torah observant, you're allowed to hate him and go beat him up like he's a terrorist. No, this is not what to say. The Rambam specifically says that it's a very big mitzvah to go help people that are not Torah observant to become Torah observant. It's an extraordinary mitzvah. That's Kiruv. But Kiruv is also giving chizuk, giving strengthening, giving help to people that are also Torah observant, but perhaps are not where they need to be. Maybe they're depressed, maybe they're stressed out for unnecessary reasons, maybe they don't have enough bitachon and emunah. There's a lot of different aspects of Kiruv. It's not necessarily just helping a person keep Shabbat and not murder people. There's a lot more to Kiruv than people think, but nonetheless, it's important to know that a person that sees these mitzvot or hears them in a lecture, that you have to honor your parents, you have to love your fellow Jew. This is specifically talking to somebody that is Torah observant. And why is that important to know? Because if we were commanded to not say, to do what we do to everybody, regardless of whether they're Torah observant or not, simply you would have a heaven that's empty. You would have a heaven that's empty. Why? Because the reality is that anytime somebody speaks about another person, there is a very high likelihood, and by high I mean 90% chance, that what you're doing is wrong, according to the Torah. And the Rambam says that if somebody spoke Lashon Hara, once in a blue moon, meaning once a year, then, perhaps they may have the ability to go to Olam Haba. But surely someone that speaks Lashon Hara on a regular basis has no share of the world to come. So, from here we know that people that talk, typically they talk about other people. So, if we were obligated to love and to honor and to refrain from speaking Lashon Hara and Rechilut about anybody, not just the observant Jew, literally, you would have to restructure the whole world and simply just designate everyone to Gaon, because most people are completely clueless of it. So Hashem brought kindness to the world by bringing us the Torah with specific rules, where He says that, yes, although you should not disrespect other people that are not Torah observant, and you should not hate them for no reason, and you should not say Lashon Hara about them, and so on, but if you do say Lashon Hara about this person that's desecrates Shabbat, or it's not a sin. It's not a sin. It's not recommended, because if you get yourself used to saying Lashon Hara about everybody, eventually you'll say Lashon Hara about the righteous person that will bring you to Gaon anyway. But nonetheless, here is a one of the places where Kadosh Baruch Hu shows us how much He knows the creation, how well He knows the creation. And the Gaon of Vilna here is telling us that even the mother and the daughter-in-law, his wife and his mother, have to make sure that they remind themselves of this reality, because not only do they have to respect each other because they're two fellow Jews, his mother and his wife, the in-laws, but even more so, they're both Torah observant. So the measurement, the precision has to be much more extraordinary, and you have to be a lot more careful. And then he adds another anecdote to the whole equation where he says, but of course you realize that my mother is a widow. She was a widow for over 2 decades. And this is actually what the Gaon of Vilna told his mother, that when you go up to Shamayim, simply tell them about the fact that you were a widow without a husband for over 2 decades. That's already enough suffering in this world that will wipe out any suffering that you were supposed to make for any little sin that you've made in your life. So to be a widow is a very difficult thing, but even more so, it's somebody that Hashem has a lot more mercy for, a lot more protection for. So this is something he's reminding his holy, his tzaddiket wife. So if this is the way he speaks, with such veracity, with such clarity, with such zeal to righteous women that he knows are righteous, needless to say, this is all appropriate for us. Now back to our original point as far as friend. Everyone thinks they're a good friend. You ask people, what is a good friend? Oh, I'm there if my friend needs me. I help them move. A few times I gave him a ride somewhere. A few times when I had it, I lent them some money. The truth is that really being a good friend? It's good things. But does that really make a person a good friend? This is one of the things that we're going to go into a little bit today, B'ezrat Hashem, because this is not just a Mussar teachings, but it's actually laws according to the Torah, also having to do with our weekly parasha. Now, the Gaon of Vilna goes further and says, also to you, my mother, my request is that peace should reign between the two of you, and that each woman should strive to gladden the other with good words. For this is a great mitzvah incumbent upon everyone. As we find in the Tzara Midrashim, when a man is judged, he will be asked, did you make your fellow a king over you graciously? We see that one must make his friend his king graciously. In fact, the majority of the Torah is focused to bring joy to mankind. So here we see that the Gaon of Vilna is talking about friendship. And he says also, perhaps a point that we may or may not cover today, that even if one of you should do something improper, forgive each other and live in peace for Hashem's sake. So that last point probably needs a shiur of its own. But here we see that he's now turning the message towards his mother, that he asks her specifically to make sure that, she's the one that has even more experience. She's the one that is obviously raised them. She's the one that has seen a lot more, and he wants to make sure that he reminds her also that she has to concern herself with peace, because there's not just a special mitzvah, but the mitzvah that a person has to make sure that they fulfill during their lifetime is being a friend, being a good friend. Now, being a good friend is not just giving somebody a ride, helping them move, and lending them a few dollars here and there, if necessary and if you have it. Being a good friend, as we would find out today, perhaps means a little bit more than that. Where he says that a person has to strive to be a good friend. How? By gladdening the other with good words. Meaning that a person has to take ownership of the responsibility that they have each and every single day to make their fellow Jew happy. Now this is perhaps too big for some of you to grasp, because some are having a tough time making themselves happy. But the truth be told is that whether you are happy or not, you're still obligated to make your fellow Jew happy. Meaning the fact that you're upset about whatever it is that you're going through does not absolve you from the responsibility of gladdening your friend, making sure that he's happy, making sure that she's happy. And in fact, so much so that it's in the Torah in many places, and the Gaon of Vilna brings one source. The source that he brings is a scary source. Why? Because this source, this Otzar HaMidrashim, is quoted by the Reshit Chochmah in Sha'ar HaYirah, the section that discusses Chibut HaKever, the beatings of the grave. And the beatings of the grave, for those of you that have watched the movie Chibut HaKever that we made, Baruch Hashem, scared the living lights out of everybody, myself included, and probably more than others, because the more you know, the more scary the reality is. But there's a certain step during the process of Chibut HaKever where a person is asked questions. And one of those questions, Rabotai Karim, is whether he made his friend a king over him. Now, in today's world, most people are looking to be king. She's looking to be queen. People are looking for attention, they're looking for notoriety, they're looking for likes, they're looking for people to share their stuff, they're looking for people to put them on the stage, they're looking for people to hear their message. So when you have a Torah that was given to Am Yisrael 3,333 years ago, in front of millions of people, tell you that really, instead of seeking attention, as many people do, you should actually do whatever you can to make your fellow into a king over you. Now, of course, the people that immediately got their ego hurt, and of course they don't want to get their attention taken away by their friend, they say, no, what do you mean? That's idol worship, making my friend a king over me. Only God is my king. Okay, buddy. As the Shlomo Melech says, Al tiyeh tzadik rabeh. Don't be overly righteous. Hear the message and understand what a friend actually means. Now, the Zohar Kadosh in Parashat Noach, page 40a, has Rabbi Akiva asking his Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos, a question. He says, Rebbe, when will the salvation come? When will the Mashiach come? Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos says to him that it all depends on Teshuva. When Am Yisrael does Teshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the Mashiach, will bring the salvation. So much so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lowered the standards, where it's not all of Am Yisrael is required to do Teshuva, and it's not even the majority of Am Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yearns to bring the Mashiach, to bring the salvation, to bring us a part of the Torah that we have never seen before, because this Torah is not the type of Torah that we can handle in this world, because we're full of tum'ah, of impurities and sins and desires and lust. He wants to give us all of this so much that he lowered the standards, that even if a single keilah, a group of 10 Jews, a minyan, does tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring the Mashiach. Because their merit is so beautiful, so glorious in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they've all done tshuva as a group, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will spread that merit among all of Am Yisrael to benefit from it. That's how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for Am Yisrael to do tshuva. The Arizal tried to do this. He gathered a group of his students, and they rented a place where everybody moved into. Each one with his family, with his wife, kids, and so on. Had a solid group of righteous people. And he told them, we're all here to bring the salvation, to bring the Mashiach. Everyone knows Torah, completely observant, Talmidei Chachamim. These are not just regular people. These were all solid people. He said, make sure that there's no machloket, no fighting between you, no fighting between everybody. Why? Because we need to show Kadosh Baruch Hu that we've all done tshuva. Because machloket, the problems, if you're fighting, not for the sake of heaven. If you're debating an halacha in regards to the Torah for the sake of heaven, that's good. That's glorifying Kadosh Baruch Hu's name through toiling of his Torah. If you have two different ideas and one happens to be wrong, one happens to be right, and you're debating it, that's good too. But if you are just going at it at each other because you want to win and you want to win, you think you're right and you think you're right and you don't even care. You don't even care about necessarily whether you're right or not. You just want to win and you just want to fight and you just want to hate each other just because of a certain look or because you live somewhere or because of a certain tradition. All those things, they belong to the Sitra Achra. So make sure not to fight at all. After a week, no fights. Everybody got a big Chazak u'Baruch. Everybody was going. Unfortunately, by the second week, already a fight developed. Where? Between the wives. One of the wives didn't like how one of the other husbands spoke to her husband. She didn't like it. So she said something to his wife. And his wife said, what do you mean? But my husband's a much bigger Talmid Chacham than yours. And all of a sudden there's already tension. The Arizal heard about this. And he rebuked the students and told them, you have to calm your wives down. Eliminate any of this nonsensical hatred, baseless hatred. You have to calm everybody down. You have to focus on Torah. You have to have peace. As you would have it, the Arizal understood what's happening in Shamayim. And he knew that this is an opportune time, an auspicious time to bring Mashiach at that time. But unfortunately, the peace never came back. In fact, there was a night, a Friday night, where the Arizal walked into the room, all of his students, and he officially told them, we've lost our chance because you guys fought before I was here. He knew already that they fought. When he came into the room, everybody was like a good little boy. But the Arizal didn't have to see it in order to know it. And he says, we lost our chance. The door is closed. And some say that he told them, because of everything that happened, the loss here is that you're going to lose me. And he died shortly thereafter. So to bring a minyan of people into a place where they all do tshuva to the extent where they can bring Mashiach is not as necessarily as easy as it sounds. And once we understand what it means to be a true friend, we'll understand why it's not necessarily so easy. It's possible, it's attainable, but it's not easy. The Baba Sali, alav shalom, he had a custom to make sure that there is constantly a food ready for people to eat. And as soon as somebody would come to his house, the first thing he would do is make sure that this person ate. And there was literally an endless kitchen. His grandson, Rabbi Elazar Abu Chatzira, also continued this tradition where there's literally right part of the house is a 24 hours a day kitchen. Constantly food. Anyone that would come in, first thing, before you ask any questions, before any blessings, before anything, sit down and eat. Why? Make sure that this person number one, is not hungry. A hungry person, very, very difficult for them to achieve happiness. Second thing is, when they're eating, now you have to do bless Hashem. Also, you have to discuss Torah. The Chachamim say in Masechet Avot that if two people are eating, three people are eating, and they don't discuss between them a Dvar Torah, it's like their food turns in their table turns into an altar for idolatry. When you eat, you have to discuss words of Torah. So the Baba Sali made sure that people are coming in there, they have food, they're satiated, and they speak Divrei Torah. But it was also a way for him to make others happy. It was also a way for him to make his fellow Jews happy. People that are full are happier than people that are starving. Now, the Gemara in Masechet Baba Metzia, Masechet Beitzah, page 16a, says that if you have, let's say, a kids and you have their friends are over your house, and of course, at some point during the day, there's you have to feed the kids or give them a snack. So you're not just going to give this snack or food just to your kids and make their friend, sit on the side, watch them eat. Of course, if you're a normal person, you're also going to have this other kid eat. The Gemara says, if you're going to feed somebody else's kid, make sure to notify their parents. Now, it didn't say, go call them, go make sure, listen, I'm making chicken for lunch. It's okay that I feed your kid? No, it didn't say call them. It didn't say, go in their house. Oh, listen, we have some cake and we're gonna eat. Is it okay if I give your daughter cake? No, it didn't say to go there. But it says notify them. So Gemara asks, how do I notify them? It says, smear a little bit of that food, whatever it is, on their face. You had a chocolate cake. Put a little chocolate on their forehead. Put it on their cheek. Put it on their ear. What is it? Makeup? What's going on here? Why do I need to put a little cake? A little this? Why? This little cute kid is going to go home. Okay? This cute kid's going to go home. She's going to go home. And as soon as they go home, say, Ima, I had so much fun. And as soon as the first thing that a parent does when they see their kid coming back from somewhere is they check the kid. Say a whole laser goes through the kid. His arms, place, check. Legs, check. Eyes, check. Everything is checked. First thing, before good time, no good time, just to see if everything is still there. Bruise, where'd you get the bruise from? And they start asking questions. They start, drilling the kid. Oh, what'd you do? Where'd you go? What'd she say? Where'd you wear? It's a questionnaire. The kid has to get a passing grade. Now, a parent sees that a little kid has a little chocolate on their face, on their ear. So who did that to you? Oh, that was David's mommy. What? David's mommy put cake on your ear? Why? Oh, we ate cake. It was fun. Oh, you had cake? She made you cake? Yeah, it was so good, Ima. It was amazing. They wanted to give me a piece for you, but I ate it. All of a sudden, the mommy is so happy that, what? That her son was fed cake by some other lady. Why? She could feed him cake herself. She could feed him chicken herself. Why does that make her extra happy? Because somebody else loves my son too. Somebody else cares about my son. That makes me happy. And the Gemara says, you make sure you notify the other parent. Why? Because that's a way for you to make them happy. It's a way for you to fulfill the mitzvah of making your fellow Jew happy. Why? By showing them you care about their son also. Care enough about them to feed them a cake or chicken or whatever it is that you feed them. So here we see that some of the messages that you have in our Holy Torah are so extraordinary that if we were to apply them to our day-to-day lives, surely the world would be a better place. But of course, the Yetzer Hara works very hard to distract people and put their attention elsewhere. Put their attention on something moving, some ball moving, some car moving, some chart of money moving, some news. Always trying to take our time, steal our time from us, and put that time and that life elsewhere and not fulfilling the mitzvot. The Gaon of Vilna speaks clearly and very harshly at times in regards to our obligation to fulfill the mitzvot. And here he's telling his own mother that there is a obligation to gladden your fellow Jew with good words, to gladden their heart. It's a mitzvah that's incumbent upon everyone, and the source that he gives her is not just, oh, you should love your fellow Jew as you love yourself. This is a nice thing to know. This is, Hillel Zaken says this is the whole Torah. No. He tells her, Ima, you have to make sure to make my wife happy. You have to make sure you make your fellow Jew happy. And he tells the same thing to his wife, and tells the same thing to his kids. He tells the same thing to his students. Tells the same thing to himself. Why? Because one day you're going to die. And when you die, there's a whole process called chibuta kevel. And that is the process that is not necessarily a pleasing process. Needless to say, it's not the end. It's part of the process of judgment for a whole life. If you've made sure to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu as He dictated your whole life, that process will ultimately be a fantastic thing best thing that ever happened to you. Why? Because the result of it will be you going to heaven forever. But if you are looking simply to serve yourself, then that process will be the biggest nightmare of all nightmares that you cannot even imagine. All of the Hollywood films, if they put all of their budgets together, they cannot make a single scene of what happens in the afterlife of the wicked. And he wanted to delve a little bit into that part of the Torah, understanding what happens on that side. Hashem Yishmor v'yatzil. The scariest movies you could ever imagine cannot even scratch the surface. And this is what the Gaon of Vilna is telling his wife. This is what he's telling his mother. That's the source of why you have to make each other happy. And why you have to make your fellow Jew happy. Because they're going to ask you in Shamayim, did you make your fellow a king over you? Not just were you nice, did you make your fellow a king over you? The book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 21. The Torah states an obligation not to cause pain to any widow or orphan. But Rashi elaborates there that you're not allowed to cause pain to anybody. In fact, in this week's parasha, Kadosh Baruch Hu teaches us about the mitzvah of Shemitah and how you have to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu through your business. You're growing crops 6 years. After that, you have to stop. Whatever is left is not yours. Not that you're not allowed to touch it or sell it, but it doesn't belong to you. In fact, the whole time that it was there, it never belonged to you. This belonged to the poor. This belonged to the destitute. The stuff that's on the 7th year, it's not yours. Further, a reality check, the Torah tells us that when you conduct business with each other, not just if you're dealing with the poor people to be nice to them. No, you're not being nice to them by allowing them to take what belongs to them as far as the crops and so on. You're fulfilling your obligation of simply giving somebody what belongs to them. But what about when you're not dealing with somebody that's poor? You're dealing with a fellow Jew. If you're dealing with a fellow Jew, you have to know that when you conduct business with people, you're not allowed to take advantage of people's foolishness. As the Pasuk says that when you make a purchase from the hand of your fellow, don't aggrieve one another. Onkelos says, don't aggrieve one another by overcharging or underpaying. You have a customer, the customer is completely clueless. Everywhere in the world, they sell this product for $100. Your customer just came from a different place, he has no concept whatsoever, and you figure you're going to tell him, oh, $2,000, and he's willing to pay it. Now, if it's worth that kind of money because that's what the industry is selling it for, no problem. But if everywhere else, if you could just go to the store next door and get it for $100, and you just decide to charge him $2,000, and you're overcharging him, you're violating the Torah. Same thing is, if you go to a place and you know that the guy is struggling. You know the guy is struggling. You know the guy is trying to make ends meet. And tell him, listen, I'm willing to buy this thing from you, but what do you want? The price says $10,000. How about this? I'm going to give you $2,000 for it. No, I can't. That's under cost. Under cost? No under cost. Either you get my $2,000 or you're going to end up shutting down your entire company because you don't have money to pay rent. You know he's in a bad position and you're underpaying him. It's not just not being a nice person. You're violating the Torah. Now, again, you could say, oh, but it's just business. No. There's ways to do business. There's ways to do business. Some people feel that the only way they can get ahead is by stepping on top of other people. Stepping on top of one people. One time, it was a guy that I know that had a situation. He had a legal issue with his house, and there was a lawsuit. Now the lawsuit was said that it's going to be, if you don't come up with a certain amount of money or sell the place or whatever, there's going to be an auction to sell the house, foreclosure. Now the house was worth a lot, and the house had equity in it, but to get a buyer so quickly and so on is not necessarily always easy. But he had, or at least he thought he had, mazal, and his neighbor was also in a similar field to him, had money, and he told him, listen, I know that you like to expand your house. Why don't you buy my house? Or those apartments. Why don't you buy my apartment? Oh, yeah, actually I could do it. I could make the apartments connect them. I would have the biggest apartment in the building. Great, okay, fine. What do you want? And they agreed on the price. Okay. But the only thing is, the condition is, you have to come up, we have to close the deal, within the next, month or so. Sure, no problem. This guy had a bunch of money. Now, why do you have to close this deal? Oh, because I have this issue with the foreclosure. Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, no problem. I need it. I want the apartment. Okay, fine. Now, both parties benefit. One guy gets out of this situation with this house. The second guy gets an opportunity he's never going to get again by getting the house for that he was never going to be able to buy any other way. Because if he listed elsewhere, long story short, both people were happy, right? Wrong. Why? The second guy that was supposed to buy the place, found out that there is a issue here. He had a plan. What was his plan? Why should I pay $4 million for something that I can get for less? Well, you agreed to that price. You came up with that price. Yeah, but maybe I can get it for less. Yeah, but at least tell me you don't want it for that price. No. What did he do? He started wasting time. Oh, no, my lawyer is doing a check, and the accountant, and this and that. Long story short, wasted a lot of time. Before you know it, the time of the auction already came up, and no deal was made. And what ended up happening is that this person that had the apartment was in a place where he couldn't do anything about it anymore. The house ended up, instead of being sold, it ended up going to auction. And this Rasha, the second guy, His job was he wanted to buy the house from the auction at first price, at a much lower price. Of course, this is evil beyond evil, but this type of stuff happens every day. There are certain people that they look for the failures of their fellows in order for them to succeed. Now, I know that there's a business where people buy foreclosed businesses and foreclosed properties. It's one thing where it's your business to do these things and you're looking for something that's already left or so. It's a completely different thing if you are actually causing it in one way or another, or you're looking to take advantage of people that are in weak positions. Everyone knows it's unethical. Now, Torah tells us here that this is also against the Torah. And a person needs to, if he's going to conduct serious business, he has to make sure that he knows the rules when it comes to doing business. Because a person may think that, oh, right, I'm just hustling. I'm just, paying my bills. I'm paying the tuition for the yeshiva for my kids. No one says that you need to pay the tuition for yeshiva with blood. No one said that you have to kill people for it. If Hashem wants to give you parnasah, He can give it to you in a ethical manner. You don't need to take advantage of people to do that. But unfortunately, many people believe that they need to lie about their competition in order for them to elevate themselves. They need to steal money or goods or products or whatever it is. They need to take advantage of others in order to get ahead. And in fact, the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, "Mitkabed beklon chavero en lo chelek leolam haba." A person that takes honor in his fellow's failures has no share of the world to come. So here the Torah tells us that when you make a purchase from the hand of your fellow, don't aggrieve one another. And Onkelos says this is in regards to overcharging, underpaying. But even more so, that it says, "Velo tanu ish et amito v'yareta me'elohecha ki anei Adonai." Each of you shall not aggrieve his fellow, and you shall have fear of your God, for I am Hashem your God. So here it says, don't aggrieve your fellow, and you shall fear God. What does it mean you shall fear God? What does that have to do with, not causing each other to be angry? What is this all about? Why does my fear of Hashem have anything to do with aggrieving my fellow? Rashi says, this is referring to mistreating your fellow through harassing them, annoying them, giving them bad advice for your own benefit. You tell them, hey, listen, you should sell the house. You don't need this house. You should sell it. Why do you tell him to sell the house? Not because it's good for him to sell the house, but because you're going to benefit out of him selling the house. You tell him, listen, you should quit. Why are you telling him to quit? Because you want his job. So certain people that are annoying their fellow, giving bad advice to their fellow. And further, Rashi says this warning is to a person who thinks that he can give bad advice to his fellow Jew and no one will know what his intent is. He is forgetting that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching everything and knows his thoughts. And therefore, when it says, don't aggrieve your fellow, I am God, meaning don't aggrieve your fellow, and perhaps you think that if you fooled him, you fooled everybody. But you can't fool Hashem. So if you're thinking that you could take advantage of your fellow, you could call him at 3 o'clock in the morning just to annoy him, to wake him up because you think it's funny, or you figured that you could just knock on his door and, insult him in front of his family because he owes you a few dollars. You think you could do all these different things that I am God, he says. Maybe he doesn't have the tools or the strength to fight you. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I do. I do. So here we see that there are very serious prohibitions when it comes to harming your fellow. Now, the Otzar Midrashim, that's quoted by Reshit Chochmah, says that you have to make sure that you have answers to the questions when you go up to Shamayim. They ask you, did you busy yourself with Torah study and with kindness to others? You have to make sure that you have the right answer. Because a person that does not learn Torah on a regular basis has no share of the world to come. If you failed question number 1 and you did not learn Torah regularly, all you can hope for is that you can answer the other questions in a better way, so your punishment is lesser. But also, it says not just learning Torah, but also make sure that you're kind to others. Meaning, don't think that just because you learn Torah, that gives you the permission to simply insult everyone else that doesn't, or everyone else that is not on your level. If you find yourself in a position where on a daily basis, all you can see is the wrong in everybody else and nothing is right, typically the problem is bigger with you than with everybody else. Now, when you say that there are certain things are not good in the world, in a book or in a lecture, that's not because that's all you see, but rather that's because what you're trying to bring people's attention to so you can resolve this issue and thereby make the world a better place. You can't focus every book and every page and every lecture only on the good things, because then people would ask, oh, if everything is good, what's the point of this lecture? Typically, when you see books and you see lectures that are given by people that are looking to help the public, you'll see that they typically focus on fixing problems, not just talking about how wonderful everything is and that good job for everybody. So if you're doing it from the position of giving a lecture, teaching people, you have to highlight certain things that are wrong in order to motivate people to fix these things that are wrong. And sometimes even remind them that what is wrong is actually wrong, because sometimes people don't even know that what they're doing is wrong. On the other hand, you would think that people should know everything is wrong, but it's not necessarily the case. There's a famous story from years ago. There was a guy, a young couple, that got married in Eretz Yisrael, and shortly after their marriage, they wanted to go hang out, and they went to the beach. They both had a lot of friends, so they went with a whole group of friends. And of course, they wore the clothes that people wear in the beach, or lack thereof. Now, on the beach, everyone's friendly, playing, joking, swimming, tanning, whatever it is that people do. Okay. The husband and the wife having a good time. Shortly after, the sundown, they decide to go home and finish the day at the beach. Go back to the house. They go back to the house. And shortly after they got to the house, the wife didn't have enough, didn't get the chance to change, but someone knocks on the door. Who is it? David and Shmuley. Oh, David's wrong. Come for coffee. So the wife runs to the door. How? With the same Shem Yishmo bathing suit that she went to the beach with. And right before she's about to open the door, the husband's like, hey, what are you doing? She says, what? What? I'm opening the door for David and Shmuley. Like that? Put something on. She looks at him, she goes, what do you mean put something on? I was like this all day with everybody. What are you talking about? He goes, no, but that's the beach. His wife is confused. What do you mean? At the beach, there's a lot more people. Here is only David and Shmuley. And there lied a dilemma in this guy's head, and he realized that there's something wrong with him. All the while, she's on the beach. Despite being his wife, he has no problem that tens of thousands of people see his wife practically naked. But the moment she changed the place, they're back at the house, and only a couple of people want to visit, all of a sudden he cares about modesty. So sometimes a person could literally look at the wrong thing straight in the face and not realize that it's wrong. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat and in several other places says that a person cannot see the obligation himself. unless he does a self-accounting on a regular basis through the Torah. Many times, there are certain things that you'll read, certain things that you'll hear in the lecture that pertain to you, but instead of applying it to yourself, you'll look at how everybody else is doing it wrong. And as I said the other day in the lecture, everything that you hear from the Torah, everything that you read from the Torah is pertaining to you. Don't look at everybody else. So, here we see that these teachings, in regards to the questions that are in Shamayim, in regards to Torah learning, in regards to kindness, is a personal message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us right now, that we need to learn more Torah. And we also need to be more kind. And instead of saying, no, but I'm already, don't do I'm already. Then that means you've missed the whole shiur. Don't say I'm already. Whatever you're doing, apparently we needed to learn today, we need to do more. Second, did you make Hashem your king morning and evening when you recite Kriyat Shema? That's the question in Shamayim. What does it mean to make Hashem king morning and evening when you say Shema Yisrael? The average person that says Shema Yisrael does not actually know what they're supposed to be doing, especially if they run away from teachings, from books, from lectures that discuss punishment, from lectures that discuss the issues that happen to people if they don't do what Hashem said. Why is that the case? Because Chachamim teach us that if a person has Yirat Shamayim and they're trying to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's not just when it's in front of everybody that you're supposed to do it, but rather when you're alone. And even more so when you're saying Shema Yisrael. Because when you're saying Shema Yisrael, you are accepting HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kinghood. And thereby saying, Hashem, I love you with all of my heart, with all of my life, with all of my resources. And Chachamim teach us that at that moment, when you're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you. It's not, I love you like you say to your wife, I love you. It's not, I love you like you say to your kids, I love you. It's not, I love you like you say to your best friend, I love you. No. When you say, I love you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are supposed to be imagining that right at this moment, there are Christian idol worshippers. There are all types of enemies of Am Yisrael that are about to kill you unless you convert to their religion. And you are saying, Hashem, I love you and I'm going to go burn for you because I love you. And you have to imagine as if you're getting all 4 different types of death penalties by the Sanhedrin at that moment. And you're willing to do it because of your love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what it means here when it says, did you make Hashem your king morning and evening reciting Kriyat Shema? Most people say, yeah, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and you can't wait to get to the end. And all of us are guilty of that. All of us are guilty of the fact that many times, Hashem Yishmor, you can even say, more times than not. People can say Shema Yisrael and have no concept whatsoever of what they're even saying and what they're doing. Especially people that are against the teachings of real Torah. Because they tell, no, you're supposed to only love Hashem and not fear Him. And you ask yourself, did you read Kriyat Shema and understand what it says? Where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you that you're supposed to love Him. Do you even know what that means to love Him? Furthermore, even if you don't know what it means to love Him, do you know what it says in there? That when you go against Hashem, how Hashem is going to starve your kids, starve you, famine, death, plagues, horrible things. In Shema Yisrael, every morning. Did you read that and actually get the message? So it's bizarre, but yet it's clear. Where the Yetzer Hara is so clever that he can show a person the wrong thing straight in his face, and that person's ignorance and arrogance combined will make him look right through that wrong thing. thinking that it's meant for somebody else. So the Gaon of Vilna brings a point where he says, you're going to be asked questions. If you've made your fellow a king over you, as part of the first few questions you get asked in Chibut HaKever, then you're going to be asked, did you make others your king? Not others your king like did you serve an idol. That's already asked by the questions before it. But meaning, did you make your fellow a king over you? The Sefer Pnei Rabbeinu Avi Ezri has a story about Rav Eliezer Menachem Shach, where Rav Shach, alav shalom, had this behavior that was Kodesh Kodeshim, if you noticed it, where each time somebody would speak to him, he would be doing what they're doing. If they're standing, he's standing. If they're sitting, he's sitting. Even later on in his life, when he's already in his 90s, and it's much more difficult to move the body. If any of his students, young boys, older men, all walks of life, came to the Rav to ask him a question, if they were standing, Rav Shach would get up and stand with them. If they sat down, he would sit. One of the students asked the Rav, why do you do that? Why do you stand? I mean, why do you go through that burden? Especially as the Rav is older now, it's more difficult. Rav Shach says, it's written that each person is asked as part of his heavenly judgment, did you make your friend a king? I want to be able to respond affirmatively, yes. I stood while speaking to visitors who were standing. Meaning, because he is fulfilling the Torah, he looks at everything from the perspective of the Torah. The Torah says, did you make your fellow a king? How can I make my fellow a king if he's standing and I'm having a good time laying down? Rav Shach says, although I could sit, why should I if he's standing? Now you could say, yeah, but you don't have to. You're right, you don't have to. But I want to have a good answer when I go up to Shemaim. When they ask me, did you make your fellow a king over you? At least I have something to say. What am I saying? Yes? How? At least I know something I did my whole life. My whole life I made sure that if he was standing, I was standing. If he was sitting, I was sitting. Then we wonder, how did they become such tzaddikim? And we realize their day-to-day behavior is not something that is easy to do. But when somebody is constantly thinking about the 13 principles of faith, life after death being one of them, where you're thinking about how Kadosh Baruch Hu rewards the righteous and punishes the wicked, surely that's referring to life after death. When a person is thinking about life after death, it changes behavior during his life that he knows is really a place you're supposed to live in order to earn merits for you to live forever. Gdolei Israel constantly focused on the Torah in such a way that they managed their lives based on the instructions of the Torah, rather than use the Torah in order to see how it can apply to their life. Now, the Torah focuses on every aspect of life. But the Gaon of Vilna says that it's clear that this obligation to make your fellow a king over you and having to gladden your fellow, this is the majority of the Torah. The majority of the Torah is to bring joy to mankind. Now, of course, there are Chachamim that say, no, it's not referring to, it's not saying majority of the Torah, but rather it's an obligation of the Torah to bring joy to man. But even if somebody has this nusach that says that the majority of the Torah is in order to bring joy to man, surely there's an answer for that too. Because although the majority of the mitzvot in the Torah are between a man and God, and not man and man, still, if a person looks deeply into the Torah, he sees that how even the mitzvot that are between man and God are those that bring joy to a person and his fellow. And the more righteous he is, according to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed, the better he is going to be to his fellow, even with what seems to be unrelated mitzvot. The Saba Mislavotka says that when it comes to the gifts to the poor, whether it's the maaser or it's the fallen stalks like the Shnat Shemitah that we discussed, he says the Rishonim have taught us that these gifts that come from the field owner's crops are in fact the pauper's property, even while still in the field owner's possession, like we said earlier. And the field owner is merely a guardian for the poor man's stocks. Should he choose to keep them, he is deemed to be stealing the poor man's possessions. And the same is true, says the Saba Mislavotka, in the case of greeting another person with a smile. Every person is fully obligated to share a pleasant face with his fellow man, and one who does not do so is essentially stealing them something that is rightly theirs. So here we see that you have a Torah obligation between you and God. If you have a field, you have to observe the Shemitah. On the 6th year, you have to stop after that. 7th year, you can't take any of the crops. But again, what's left there, whether it's the tithe, the maaser that you take during those 6 years, or it's the fallen stalks, even during the Shemitah year, you should know this is not your money. This is not your crops. This is simply, you are a bank for the poor people. It's their property. So this Torah obligation between you and God is in essence one of the ways that you could bring gladness or sorrow, chas v'shalom, to your friend. If you follow the will of God, you not only will bring good to yourself, but you'll also thereby bring good to your fellow. If you don't follow the will of God, you end up bringing sorrow to your fellow. Because now instead of him coming to your field and finding some food to eat, he finds nothing. He finds that somebody stole his stuff. It says even more so applying to your everyday person that thinks that their face belongs to them and thereby walks around however they want. She puts enough makeup on our face because she wants everybody to be aroused the second that she sees her face. She wants everybody to think of her forever as a result of the way that she dresses. And this is not the way to behave. Why? Because if you're bringing those types of thoughts and feelings to people, you are a sakana, you are a danger you're a hazard to society. Because if a person that is going to look at you and see something that is attracting his attention away from his wife, surely that will make his appreciation of his wife lesser. If she's next to him while he's doing it, it could create much bigger damage and increase the divorce rate even more so. While it's still possible to increase it because it's literally almost approaching 100%. You have a better chance of winning the lotto than you have staying married in Western society these days. So you have a situation where a woman thinks, oh, I'm going to walk around in such a fashion where I want all the people to look at me and remember my face and think all types of thoughts about me. You are a hazard because people that look at you don't appreciate what they already have. And in fact, they start getting to the point of desiring to do things that are forbidden, not just by their spouse, but by God himself. So you're causing these people to inflict damage on themselves and those around them. On the other hand, a person that realizes their face is not something to attract attention, but it doesn't mean that you have to walk around with your head between your legs, or like the Arabs think that they're righteous by covering their wives' faces. No, that's not the way of Am Yisrael. Simple. Look happy. Not go and shake every guy's hand and every girl's hand and hug people in the streets and befriend all the homosexuals. No one's saying that. Simple. Have a nice face. If you see somebody that you know, make sure they know that you are happy. Not just you're happy because you have such a wonderful life. You're happy to see them. Give them the feeling that they are at least part of the reason why you're happy and you have a smile on your face. And instead of walking around with a upside down smile at all times, thinking that that is a reflection of how righteous you are, realize that that face of yours that causes other people to be sad because you're always angry and you're always mad and you're always sad, you're causing damage to them. Not that much less than that forsaken woman is, that's looking to cause people to become attracted to her. Now again, no one says walk around and hug strangers. Love everybody the same. No. You have to have a certain face where if someone looks at you, they don't get depressed and start thinking of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. If they look at you, they don't become, perhaps happier that they don't look suicidal like you. No. You have to have a pleasant face. Even more so if you see somebody and someone you're having a connection, eye contact with somebody. Even more so. And if it's somebody that you know, it's important for you to smile. It's important for you to have a happy face enough to give them pleasure. As if they're the ones that caused it to you. Now what if you're not happy? You still have to smile. Rav Chaim Ozer Gruzinski in the Chetzer writes, years ago, in my youth, I used to think that the main job of someone in my position, he was the Gadol Ador, he was the head rabbi, thought that someone in my position, his job was to write Chidushe Torah and publish many Sfarim. But now I've come to the conclusion that writing Sfarim is actually child's play in comparison to the need to support widows, orphans, and the poor and Torah scholars. Meaning that yes, you have to learn Torah, you have to teach Torah, you have to write Sfarim, but that is not the ultimate purpose of everything. Because there is a greater goal to take all of that Torah that you learn and apply it to life. Part of learning Torah is applying the Torah to your life. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says that if a person learns Torah just for himself, not for the sake of benefiting others, it's like a person that has a different God. You're supposed to apply the Torah. So Rav Gruzinski says, On one, and when I was younger, I thought just learning Torah and writing books, that's enough. No. I have to apply it. How do I apply it? Bringing kindness to people out there, to the orphan, to the needy, to the widow, to the people that are already having a difficult time and are more prone to be depressed, more prone to be down. To help the poor, Torah scholars. Lift them up, not just with money. Sometimes even with a smile. Sometimes with a few words of encouragement. You'd be surprised how self-conscious many great Torah scholars are. They have an enormous amount of information in them they've toiled for, but they're surrounded by a world that not only doesn't appreciate them, but mocks them on a regular basis. They know that they have diamonds in their hands, but they're surrounded by a world that calls those diamonds coal, that calls those diamonds garbage. So when you tell them, listen, why don't you give a shiur? Put it on the internet. They look at you like, why? Who's going to listen to this? People are making fun of me every day. They're going to listen to me talk on the internet? Why? Why would anybody listen to me? And you'd be surprised how many Torah scholars we've had to convince over the years to put their lectures on the internet, so other people can benefit from it. And the response that we get from some of these holy people is like, why would anybody listen to me? Why would anybody listen to me? So just because somebody has a lot of information, a lot of Torah, doesn't necessarily mean that they're automatically confident. The two don't necessarily go together. Why? Because again, you have to look at things from their perspective. People at their perspective. And Rav Gozinski says that, yes, learning Torah, writing books, important. But it's also very, very important to help those that are in need, whether they be orphans, or they be widows, poor people, Torah scholars. Help those that are in need. And in fact, helping them is much more difficult than writing books. This is a big part of the reason why our organization does everything. We help the poor, we help the Torah scholars, and needless to say, Baruch Hashem, we learn Torah. Because if you're looking to fulfill the Torah, whether it be as an individual or as an organization, you're left at a place where you have to do all of it if you really want to achieve your mission. Now, Rav Hutnel, who was one of the Gedolei Hador in America, says that in one of his letters, I was certainly very happy to hear that I was successful in providing some encouragement in his time of pain and anguish. For what is left for someone in my position to do, if not to lighten someone's painful burden? Here you have a situation where someone was suffering. Apparently, it seems like somebody died, and a person, a Jew, was suffering. And Rav Hutnel, one of the Gedolei Hador in the previous generation, takes time out of his busy day, instead of learning more Torah, instead of teaching more, instead of doing anything else, he stops his day to go and help this Jew that he doesn't know. And he makes sure to follow up what happened as a result. Did he stay okay? Did I achieve my mission? And he gets a response. Yes, he was very happy. You gave him some chizuk. And Rav Hutnel writes another letter saying, I was very happy that I achieved this purpose of actually giving him some encouragement despite his anguish and his pain. Because what else can somebody like me do in the world? Wait, you're the Gedolei Hador. You're one of the biggest rabbis in the world in a generation. You're saying, what else can you do? Yes, when you compare helping another fellow Jew out of his dire situation versus everything else, the two don't compare. The two don't compare. This is the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 19, verse 15, or 15:19, that those that help people do tshuva, they're going to be like stars. So much so that whatever they say, I fulfill. Because a Jew that is not observing the Torah, a Jew that's not keeping Shabbat, a Jew that's not protecting his Kedusha, a Jew that is not modest, a Jew that is not righteous when it comes to business, a Jew that is not learning Torah is a Jew that's in dire need, in destitute situation, in a horrible shape. To help that person, there's no greater kindness in the world. Surely you can go spend more time learning Torah, you can go spend more time making money, you can spend more time with your kids, with your wife, you can go spend more time sleeping. But you took the time to go help this fellow Jew out of his dire situation. You rescued him out of the filth that he was in without even realizing it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're a star. Whatever you say, it's like I said it. You pray, I fulfill. Kepitiyeh, the Pasuk says. In the name of Rabbi Israel Misalat, Sefer Netivot Or, extraordinary Sefer that was translated to English, highly recommended. Rabbi Israel Misalant was once discussing something with someone. And the whole time that he's discussing, Rabbi Israel Misalant has a big smile on his face. One of the students of Rabbi Israel Misalant, he's used to serious Mussar. You do wrong, punishment. You don't serve Hashem 100%. You have a problem, and so on and so forth. A lot of heavy talk. This is the master of Mussar. Here we see the master of Mussar, smiley, like a little boy. What's going on here? This young student didn't like it. But of course, he had at least enough fear of his rabbi not to say something in front of somebody else. But I didn't stop him from saying something. During the next Mussar talk that Rabbi Israel Misalant gave the students, this student protested. But how do you explain yourself for that conversation that you had with that man, where the whole time you guys are talking and just like, smiling? Of course, Rabbi Israel Misalant did not take this to heart. He knew this young student doesn't know the difference between serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu and serving yourself. He thinks that if you're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that means that you have to be depressed. You have to be miserable. He doesn't realize that serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu you have to do with happiness. Even if it's talking about serious issues, scary issues. And you have to take everything into account and everything into perspective. You, young man, are looking at this conversation from your perspective. You have your teacher that teaches you and the rest of the students about fear of the Almighty and serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the highest level. And you're questioning why I'm not talking to him like I talk to you. And there lies the problem. That you're thinking of things only from your perspective. Had you made your fellow a king over you, you would have thought of things from his perspective. Had you made your rabbi a king over you, you would have thought of things from his perspective. Had you made your fellow Jew a king over you, you would have thought of things from a different perspective, but you only thought of things from your perspective because you're the king in your head, but you think that you're really serving the king. In reality, you're only serving your own ego, yourself. So the truth be told, although in a class, in a shiur, in a sefer, we have to talk a certain way to certain people, but what you don't know is that man that I spoke to was going through a depression because of a lot of anguish and suffering that he's endured. Things you would never know about and Be'ezrat Hashem may never know about. But he was going through major difficulty. I had to do whatever I could to cheer him up. You want me to cheer him up about Gehenom? You want me to cheer him up about Kafakela? You want me to cheer him up with Chibut HaKever? Or do you want me to cheer him up with at least giving him a smile and showing him that there is more to life than just his current dire circumstances? Had you had the teachings right in your mind, you would have already known that looks can be deceiving. You have to look at things not just from your perspective. You have to look at things from other people's perspective. Needless to say, a righteous person's perspective. Needless to say, times a million, a Talmid Chacham's perspective. So much so that if the person is righteous, you have to find a way to give them the benefit of the doubt. If the person is a Talmid Chacham, you can't even see anything wrong. Meaning that even if you see them driving on Shabbat, you have to use your imagination to convince yourself that there is someone in that car that they're driving in that they're taking to the hospital. Why? Because there's no way that this righteous Talmid Chacham is violating Shabbat. You have to already use that imagination to give them the benefit of the doubt. And even if there is no way, and it's clear and it's obvious, and it's proven that what they did is wrong, still you have to. If they're Talmid Chacham, still you cannot judge them, because surely if they're Talmid Chacham, they did Teshuva that night. So by the time you see them again, you can't look at them as wicked. But if you only look at things from your perspective, surely you're never going to be able to fulfill the obligation of making your fellow a king over you. The Chachamim went to great lengths to practice this mitzvah. The greater the Chachamim, the greater the responsibility, and the greater their effort was to fulfill that responsibility. Rav Yisrael Zalman Meltzer, in his weekly shiur in Yeshivat Etz Chaim, would put himself in a room for a few moments before starting the shiur each time, until one day one of the young students peeked in to see what does the Rav do for those couple of moments. Is he studying more, refreshing, praying? What is he doing? Only to hear the Rav repeat the same exact verse over and over. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Over and over again for those couple of minutes. You love your fellow as you love yourself. Trying to strengthen himself before every shiur, because surely the students will sometimes not be as great as the teacher, where their effort is more focused on when is this lecture going to be over. Their effort is more on what's for lunch. Their mind is on what am I going to do this weekend? What am I going to eat? Maybe I should take a nap now. And the Rav is already preparing for somebody in the crowd to ask a question that's inappropriate, to do something that's inappropriate. Best yet, to fall asleep in the front row and snore. Make sure that everybody hears you. Completely bored out of your mind while the Gadol Ador is speaking. And the Rav says, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You must love your fellow Jew as you love yourself. You love yourself, surely you would not want somebody to embarrass you. You love yourself, surely you would not want somebody to make fun of you. You love yourself, surely you would want someone to judge you favorably and realize that you didn't do it on purpose. You just lost a train of thought, and so on and so forth. So the Rav before every shiur would constantly repeat to himself, you're giving this shiur not only to help them, but help yourself. Help yourself by refreshing the subject. Help yourself by teaching it and thereby becoming more sharper about it. But also help yourself fulfill the mitzvah of loving your fellow. Not because your fellow is easy to love, and he's always smart, and he's always kind, and he's always great, but rather the opposite, where sometimes he's not so easy to love. Sometimes even hard to love. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, page 31a, has the famous story with the goy that wanted to convert to Judaism. An arrogant goy comes to Shammai and tells him, I want you to convert me after teaching me the entire Torah on one leg. Meaning, one sentence, I want to know the whole Torah. It's like people that do not even know the basic halachot of what you need to do when you wake up in the morning as a Jew. But yet they want to learn Kabbalah. Rabbi, I want to learn Kabbalah. Can you teach me? Or the best yet, they just started watching your shiurim 2 days ago. Rabbi, can you teach me one-on-one? I think I'll be a better person if you teach me one-on-one. And you can teach the whole world online, but me one-on-one. They think they're the first one or the last one to ask that. Many people think that the world revolves around them. And this does not mean just the Jews. People that want to be Jewish also do. And people that are not even Jewish also. Just the last 2 days, until I eventually blocked him yesterday, this guy has been sending me endless messages that don't really mean much. It's like a crazy person. And then he sends me a message and he says, I want to learn Kabbalah. Can you teach me? No. I want to learn Kabbalah with Rabbi Abu Chatzira. Can you help me? No. Why not? This is a legitimate question. Why not? Because I don't know Rabbi Abu Chatzira personally. Well, can't you call him? No. Why not? These are legitimate questions that people take out of their day to ask me. He actually believes that I am obligated to go call Rabbi Abu Chatzira and convince him to go teach him Kabbalah. Why? He's delusional. He thinks that the world revolves around him. And of course, eventually I have to block this person because I just can't take it. If someone asks normal questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Someone acts crazy, there's just so much time that you have in a day. Especially if they call you when you tell them don't call. Now, people didn't just start doing that today. A person comes to Shammai and says, I want you to convert me after teaching me the whole Torah in one sentence. Meaning, prove to me that Torah is real without all the proofs and shiurim and 3 hours there and 10 hours there. No. Prove to me one sentence, the whole thing. You think that's only in Bet Shammai? Every week, at least 1 or 2 people say that to me. Prove to me the whole Torah in one sentence. Prove to me, like somebody wrote in one of the comments, prove to me that we're not in Gaon now. In one sentence. And even when you answer them, Why? Because they're not looking for the truth. They're just looking for something that, for most people, at least the people they've dealt with, is not possible in order to justify their current behavior. So this guy comes to Shammai and says, teach me Torah on one leg. Shammai, Baruch Hashem, told him, go fly a kite. Go fly a kite, close the door in his face. Hillel had unique type of patience, but also an ability to deal with certain people unlike any other person. Not to say that he's greater than Shammai, but there are certain things, there's certain people that they're better at it. And it's known that Hillel had the ultimate patience. But he didn't just have ultimate patience to allow people to desecrate the Torah endlessly and so on, because we see in the Mishnah in Avot, Hillel sees a skull floating in the river. And he says to the skull, You are floating in the river because you did this to somebody else. And whoever did this to you, the same thing will happen to them. Meaning, Hillel is not one of these Care Bear rabbis, chas v'shalom, that says, oh, we love everybody no matter what, everyone's going to heaven. No, you have a Mishnah in Avot that says, Hillel looks at a skull and says, you are murdered by somebody, and after that not even have the privilege of getting buried because you murdered somebody. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu paid you measure for measure. And whoever did this to you doesn't for a moment think that, oh, because you're a murderer, that allowed them to murder you. No, they're also going to get punished. You have no permission whatsoever to take the law into your own hands. So this very same Hillel comes and he's at his house, and this guy comes to him. Hillel, yes, I want you to teach me the entire Torah on one leg. Hillel, without skipping a beat, says to this person, whatever is hateful to you, don't do to your friend. This is, in but a few words, is the Torah. All the rest is an elaboration of this one central point. Now, go and learn it. That's the sentence. That's the Torah. Whatever you hate, don't do to your friend. This is the whole Torah. Now, of course, the liberals, ignoramuses, and the liars all love to manipulate this Gemara to fit their agenda by saying you have to love everybody equally. If he's a Mechalel Shabbat, atheist, missionary, anti-God, if he's a terrorist, a communist, love everybody. No, that's not what Hillel is saying. Hillel is saying whatever you hate, don't do to your friend. If a person managed their life in such a fashion, then they would be able to fulfill the entire Torah. Why? First and foremost, no one likes to be cheated. No one likes to be lied to. If you hate when people lie to you, if you hate being taken advantage of, if you hate being cheated, and therefore you're not going to do it to somebody else, that automatically makes you a kosher person to do business with. And not think twice of how you're going to take advantage of me. If you don't like when people cheat on you, if you don't like when people mock you, if you don't like when people intimidate you unnecessarily, if you don't like when people take advantage of you, if you don't like when people are stingy with you, if you don't like when people rape you, if you don't like when people do anything bad to you, and therefore you won't do it to somebody else, that can make you a good husband. Why? Because you won't do all those bad things to your wife. Simple. If you don't like when people are bad to you in any way, shape, or form, and therefore you're not going to do that to others, surely that's going to make you a decent human being. But how does that fulfill the entire Torah when we already know that there's more mitzvot that are between man and God versus man and man? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself also calls himself friend. He calls himself our friend at different times with tzaddikim. If a person thought about the relationship, this friend is not just referring to another human being. Even if you deluded yourself into thinking that Hashem is your friend, and not your God, not your Father in heaven, but your friend, would you want to be your friend with the way that you're treating him? Now, if you ask the average person, do you love God more than he loves you, less than he loves you, or as much as he loves you? The average person will probably tell you, no, I love Hashem, I love God, but probably not as much as he loves me because he's unlimited. No problem. Now let's just say, it's obvious that God loves us more than we love him. It's obvious. But let's just say you do love God. Okay? Would you want God to love you as much as you love him and show you the love that you have for him, but back to you? Let's say the unlimited love that he has was not available. And the only love that was possible was the love that you have for him. That's what he can return to you, like a mirror. Would you want that love, friend? No, an ignorant, delusional person will typically say, yeah, of course, yeah, I love God. But hold on a second. You love God, right? Did you make it on time to prayer today? No? How about yesterday? How about day before? When you prayed, did you think about God? Or you thought about stuff he can give you? Money, women, men, dogs, cats, cars, whatever it is that's on your head? Probably thought about everything but God, no? What if God, when you prayed, he also didn't show up? And you were praying for life's sake. You needed God to save you because your life is on the line. You're on top of the hill. You're about to fall. You need him to catch you. And he said, God, help me. God said, hold on a second. I'll be there in 10 minutes. How about that, friend? Or what about when you were praying, God, I need you. I don't have money to pay rent. I don't have this. Oh, God, it's a miscarriage. Almost. The doctors are saying it's going to be one. I need your help. I need this. I need that. And God's busy thinking about, there's so many people in the world. I got to do so much stuff. Got to keep this world going. The atmosphere, the sun, the moon. The angels also need some attention. And all these atheists, I got to convince them. And you're praying your heart out. I need you, God, I need you. It's going to be something. I need you to save my life now. And God's like, what is that? What are they saying? Hold on, I'll be there in a second. I got stuff on my mind. So much stuff to do. And you're screaming your lungs out. And God's busy thinking about other things. Friend. If God says you see someone in need, even if that's somebody you don't know, it's your fellow Jew, he needs help, go help him. Even if that help is Torah. Even if that help is to defend the Torah. Not because he needs you to defend the Torah, but because he wants you to defend the Torah. Would you do it? Would you want God to defend you and help you like you help others? Well, let's see. You had 50, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 in the bank. Money coming in each month. But you were saving for vacation or a second house, or maybe a third, or another investment property so you could have a comfortable retirement. And just so happened that this need came up. There needs to be poor people in the world, says Rabbi Akiva, to get the rest of us out of Gaon for the sins we've made. So Hashem sends you an opportunity, he sends you a poor person. Maybe that poor person even happens to be a great fortune for you because he happens to be a Torah scholar too. He says, can you help me? There's a surgery that's necessary, food that's necessary, diapers that are necessary, rent. Can you help me? Yeah, sure. You know what? Hold on a second. Here, keep it. That whole 100, it's for you. Torah institution, you've benefited from. You know they exist. They do good things. Say, we need help to build the yeshiva, to get more avrechim, to help more Torah comes into the world. Psh, yeah, that's a good ad. I like the music in the background. 180 for you guys. 10 times high. Sounds good. Sounds reasonable. What if it was the opposite? And you were in dire straits. The business was on the verge of bankruptcy. One of your greatest investments was looked into by the government, Shem Yishmor, where if they see what they choose to see, or even what's actually there to see, the business shut down. If they find that file that happens to be there, but you made it not there, and they sent their vultures to go look, to find something, unpaid taxes, undocumented workers, unpaid bills even, or perhaps even a sign that's supposed to be on the door or on a wall that's not there. They're looking and they're looking. And you're praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, get these vultures out of here. And Hashem responds in kind. He needs my help. What does he need? Oh, he needs to save this $1 million business? It's a big need. You know what? I'll make the guy 5 minutes late. Wait, God, but that's 5 minutes late. Like, how is that going to help me? He's still going to come. He's helping you in kind. You had a lot and you gave a little to the poor person. He's helping you in kind. Would you want that type of love? Friend? You see, Rabotai Yekarim, the more we look into it, the more we realize how much we need God to love us a whole lot more than we love Him. But also, how much we desperately need to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu much more than what we already do. One of the ways to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we love Him is exactly the example that we gave at the beginning. When you send your friend, your fellow, his kid back home, after you gave him some food, you gave him a cake, put a little bit on his cheek, put a little bit on his ear. Make sure that that serves as a reminder to that parent that you fed him. Why? Because that will make that parent happy, that somebody else also loves their kid. When we show HaKadosh Baruch Hu how much we love His kids, that we take our time to make them kings over us. We stand for them. We help them. We do whatever we can to go out of the way for them. Not because it's a benefit to us, but rather because it's a way for us to express that life is more than just our own interest. Life is for us to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we're trying to love Him at least more than what we love Him right now. Surely we will never love Him as much as He loves us. We are limited beings, but all of us can do more to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu more. And when you do that, you'll end up loving His creation too. Not only seeing the flaws in everyone, but rather seeing if you can help them. Not only seeing the deficiencies in your own life, but also seeing the benefits of being alive and being one that understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching. Not just seeing all of the things you need from God, but rather looking forward to fulfilling your obligations to God. Not because you're scared of the punishment that He will give you if you don't listen to Him, but rather because life might as well be death when you live without him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so great and so holy that he has an unlimited amount of love for us. But at the same token, he has rules for himself to not give us an endless amount of times to fulfill his will. Each one of us has a certain amount of time. And because of his love for us, he has to do whatever he can to inspire us, direct us, push us towards the direction of serving him like we're supposed to be, like the way we say we do. You see, every single day, a person prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a lot of different things. If you go to synagogue, in the morning you pray, and you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you more. Not just more money, not just more food, not just more things of this world that are physical, but rather more Torah that will give you more clarity, more purpose, more tools. But if you don't use it, then you'll be left worse than what you started with. Why? Rav Shvadron Alav Shalom said this parable. He said there was once a person that needed money to help his daughter get married. And although he was a little embarrassed, and although he was a little uncomfortable, he decided to call one of the people in the community that was known to be someone that loved to help. And he calls him. He says, Zalman, yes, it's David. Oh, David, how are you? Good. How's your kids? Beseder, David. How are you? You okay? You need something? How are you feeling? Beseder, David. Is that what you call me to see how I'm feeling? How my kids? Well, he's still embarrassed. Well, David, you okay? Everything's okay by you? Yes. What can I help you with? Well, Zalman, I need to wed my daughter, and I was wondering if you're willing to lend me 300 rubles. Sure, David. Of course. Just come to my office today at 12 o'clock. Fantastic. Thank you, Zalman. Thank you, David. So, the day goes on. 12 o'clock shows up. Zalman is waiting in his office with 300 rubles. A hefty sum, but nonetheless, he loves his fellow and wants to help him. But as you would have it, David never shows up. Not at 12, not even at 12:30. And Zalman is a very busy person. He can't just wait there forever. After waiting for him for 45 minutes, he has to leave the office, but he tells his assistant to note it if David shows up. Later that day, he finds out from his assistant that David never showed up at all. Strange. Why would you ask if you're not going to show up? But the next morning at exactly the same time, it's 6:30 in the morning, Zalman is already up, ready for the day. And he gets a call. And who is it? It's David. Zalman? Yes. It's David. Oh, David, what happened to you yesterday? Oh, things happen, but I was wondering if you could help me. Yeah, sure, what can I help you with? Everything okay by you? Yes, it's okay. Are your kids okay? Yes, they're okay. Your weather by you is okay? Yes, you didn't call me for the weather or for my kids. What did you call me for? Yesterday you called me and you didn't show up. Well, that's the thing. I didn't show up, but I still need the money. Would you be so kind and be willing to lend me the 300 rubles that I need to wed my daughter? Sure, David. No problem. At 12 o'clock, I'll be waiting for you. Oh, you're fantastic, Zalman. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you. Well, 12 o'clock comes. Zalman is waiting at the office. And David does not show up. Not at 12 or 12:15. Not even at 12:45. Zalman is a busy person and has to go. And later finds out from the assistant that David did not even show up. This story just continues to get stranger. The third day comes at exactly the same time. David calls Zalman. Zalman is not exactly so happy to hear David. Yes, David. How can I help you? How are you? Is everything okay? Everything is okay except that you keep standing me up and you tell me to wait in my office to help you and you don't show up. Everything other than that is okay. Oh, would you be so kind to help me? With what? I need the 300 rubles. David, are you sure you need them? Yes. I'll see you today at 12. 12 o'clock comes, and David doesn't show up. Not at 12, not even at 12:30 or 12:45. 3 days in a row, David asks for a loan, and Zalman says, sure. By the fourth day, Zalman is not exactly ecstatic to hear from David. When his phone rings early in the morning, Zalman, what, David? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Are you just playing a joke on me? No, are you okay? Okay? You're driving me crazy. You keep asking me to help you. Rav Shvadron says, that's us. You're laughing, you're crying, but that's us. Every day, every morning, a Jew wakes up and says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for giving me another opportunity because you have emunah in me. That today I will do tshuva. And later on you pray. You pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking him for everything. And one of those great things that you ask him for, that Hashem is waiting to hear from you, is give me some more Torah. Give me some more Torah because I need more ways to know how to serve you better. Give me more Torah so I know how to live a better life. Give me more Torah so I can make sure that my fellow is a king over me rather than me being a king over him. Give me more Torah so I have more purpose. Give me more Torah so I have a life. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds and he says to us, you got it. You got it. But then the prayer is done. We put away our tefillin and we run out of the synagogue. Never had a chance to open a book. Didn't manage a schedule in a fashion where we learn in the morning. We figure we'll do it later. And later comes, it's still nothing. And not even later that evening, because you're busy eating and working and calling and living and forget that you need instructions for all of that. And the day is over and we start the next day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, are you okay? You know I love you, right? You know you're everything. Can you give me some more Torah? So I know how to serve you better? So I know what the purpose of life is? Can you give me some more Torah so I have more clarity and therefore I'm never, ever, ever again anxious about anything? Can you give me some more Torah so I know the purpose of life and never, ever question why I'm here? Can you give me some more Torah so all of these crazy thoughts of suicide and depression and all types of things are never, ever something that I have in my mind? Can you give me some more Torah so I can help other people and my kids and the neighbors and all these strange people? Hashem says, sure, I'll see you later today, waiting for you. As much Torah as you want. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives all types of extraordinary Torah thoughts in the hands of the angels that are waiting for you. The minute you open that Gemara, the minute you turn on that shiur, the minute you put more of your life into the Torah than you do into your sandwich, into your job, into your car, into everything else out there. And those angels are waiting and waiting. But as soon as the prayer is finished, guy is out of the office, listening to sports on the way, listening to news, thinking about everything but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because he figures, later on in my break, I'll listen to something, I'll read something. But later on comes, and the Yetzer Hara comes with it. And all of a sudden, dinner time comes. And dinner time, I'm hungry. So, there's no time to learn then. So he eats. And then after that, you have to spend some time with the kids and the wife. And before you know it, too tired. And the day is over. And the third day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know I love you, right? You okay, Hashem? You're okay? Everything's okay by you? Am Yisrael is okay? Well, listen, God, I need a favor. That Torah you gave at Mount Sinai, I don't know all of it. In fact, most of it I don't know. Can you give it to me so I don't have any more anxiety, so I have more blessings in my business, so my wife doesn't argue with me constantly because I'm not talking to her the right way and she's not talking to me the right way, and my kids stop having doubts about if there's a God so I can answer them. So you can give me all of those different things. You have it in that Torah, right? So can you give it to me today? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, of course, my son. I have been waiting for you for 3,333 years. Today, you're going to get it. And the prayer is finished. And the guy's out the door. Looking forward to being in traffic. Looking forward to being at a job. Looking forward to being in the world to acquire stuff. Forgetting there's instructions to do all of that. Forgetting everything he asked for. And day after day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu that loves us much more than we could ever love him, waits and waits only to hear us again ask for more, but forsake ourselves by simply not being there to receive it. So yeah, he does love us a whole lot more than we could ever love him. Perhaps it's time we not only work on loving him more and loving our fellow more, but perhaps it's time to realize that by loving him more and loving our fellow more, we'd end up loving ourselves more, because all of it benefits us more than anyone else. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.